morning, folks. This evening, our wind anchorage. We've been stuck here for 3 days, or parts of 3 days. Wind finally died down, so I'm heading out to the north. Got about a 10-12 mile leg today, and the wind looks like it's going to be reasonable for 3 days. So in good shape. Cold today, though. Water temperature is about 43 degrees right here. Running about 3,000 RPM. That gives me about 6.5 miles. I'll probably run out of fuel on the top tank today. I'm running on the top tank right underneath the helm seat. Expecting that that'll at least close to run out today. Yeah, I'm glad to be leaving. It was a long time. I don't like staying in one place that long. Plus, there's a lot to do. It's so cold. It's even cold this morning. Still only in the 40s. Got the windshield up, that's helping, but it's still a cold day, and I don't have, I've got a lighter rain jacket I can put on. I'll start getting chilled, that's what I'll do. Alright, we're moving along here. We're about 4 miles into the trip, about a third of the way. Doing 6 knots against the wind here a little bit. At 3,000 RPM. And you can see the boat kayak trailing along behind. The seas are fairly flat, but I'm taking a little bit of bow spray over the bow occasionally, depending on the wave. I'm just about to turn the corner here at a place called Agency Creek. It'll be a little larger bay. And it's a little more open to the southwest, so I could end up with some bigger seas there. I don't know. The wind, kind of hard to tell, but because the wave action looks almost north to northeast. The winds are supposed to be northwest, so there's not enough here to really tell. We'll find out more when we get around the corner here. There you can see the boat, and this is the entrance to Agency Creek. So when I go by that, I could get some waves there, a little bigger waves, we'll see. Hello folks, just tied up about a half an hour ago here at the new spot. Traveled about 13 miles today, a little longer trip than, or leg than I normally do. But we lost so much ground in the 3 days at the last site that I wanted to keep moving and try to get up a little further north. It's really cold, so I decided not to do dishes. Usually when I come in and land, as soon as I tie up, I'll usually do dishes soon after. But it's so cold, I got it warmed up in the cabin again. It was down in the 50s. It's 53 outside and 67 inside right now. So it's comfortable again in the cabin, but I turned the heat off when I was underway since I wouldn't have been inside anyway. It was really cold en route. It was kind of going right into the wind and the waves. The waves broke over the bow. Unfortunately, I left my sandals and my rubber boots up there, so they got a little bit wet. So I pulled those in, pulled the boots in to dry, and put the sandals in the back. They're all muddy yet from that last fiasco of doing the face down in the mud. The tie up here went pretty smoothly. There wasn't too much crosswind, and one thing that really helped today was I ran the bow up a little harder onto the sand. Actually, it's more clay than it is sand, to help it stick a little bit better so that the wind doesn't move it around. And then a little power on with the prop to keep the pressure on the bow tie up, because it takes at least 10 minutes for me to put down 3 anchors and get tied up. Typically I always tie the upwind anchor first, then the bow, then usually the downwind is what the sequence works out best. So far all my tie-ups have gone well and my departures have gone well. Keeping a little pressure on with the motor so that it presses up against the shore pretty well holds it. Sometimes the wind, if there's some gustiness to the wind, it might push one way or the other, so you got to kind of watch that a little bit. You may have to tweak the motor angle a little bit to offset that wind pressure. I'm a little bit at a loss what to do next here, because I can't really do the dishes. Well, I can, but it's just I don't feel like it. It's too cold. I was hoping it would warm up a little bit, but looking at the weather, I'm not sure that it's going to do anything today. It's going to still stay pretty much cloudy and not warm up much, so eventually I'll have to wash the dishes. But grilling burgers tonight, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm not going to generate a bunch of dishes, so I may just wait a little later in the evening to do dishes. Munch on some crackers and cheese right now to hold me over until I eat dinner. Anyway, not too much. One thing that surprised me, I came around the bend into this inlet, and here's a farm up on the hill, and I didn't see that in the maps when I was looking and perusing the spot to where I was going to go. I don't like to tie up anywhere where I can see buildings or other people. I was able to find a little sub-inlet off to the south edge of the inlet. It's the main inlet. Found enough protection there and get behind a hill and not be in sight of that farm or ranch, actually. There's a bunch of cattle up on the hill, and most of the time I've been seeing Angus, but there's some Charolais up on that hill. Looks like there's a mix of Angus and Charolais. Not much else to say. Weather has not been favorable the last few days here. It's just been cold. Today, the previous couple of days weren't maybe as cold, but they were windy, which made it cold anyway with the wind chill. Motor ran well, didn't run out of gas. I thought it might be right at the edge of running out coming into this inlet, so I was prepared to make a quick switch of the tank if I needed to, but that didn't happen. Top auxiliary tank should be about empty. I've got 3 auxiliary tanks and then my 2 boat main tanks. I've used a little bit out of each of the auxiliaries, and now I pretty well finished the top one. I'll move on to the second one, although I think I had 7 miles on that. I figure about 20 miles per tank. As long as I make a shorter trip tomorrow, which I probably will, I'll use that second tank up and then move on to the 3rd auxiliary. At some point though, I should go to the main tanks. I probably should maybe do that tomorrow instead of using fuel in the auxiliary, because that's fresher fuel. I should use the old fuel first. I may hook up one of the main tanks tomorrow instead. Those are each 9 gallons. My auxiliaries are 6 each. There's 3 auxiliaries, and 2 main tanks, which are 9 each. So I've got a total of 36 gallons of fuel on board. That's about doubled my capacity. Well, it did double my capacity this year because I found out that on Oahe Reservoir there's no fuel, no places to get fuel. The only place is where I launched from, and I don't want to go all the way back there just to get fuel. I had to come up with some method of carrying all that fuel. So I did, and it's working. Anyway, that's enough for now.